Still gathering folks as they come up here. Thank you for being here. We're still gathering, like I said, we're still gathering. So just wanted to let you know it is being live streamed on our Bethel YouTube channel. So afterwards, if you want to have people look at it, they can. You just tell them, it's on the Bethel channel. I will then put that on the Wise Winchester website probably tomorrow, so that you don't have to go to the Bethel site. But if you want to, you can do that. But we're going to get started here in a few minutes as soon as all the people who are ready to go are back in house. And then I will introduce our coordinator for the night, and we'll get going. So I think we got a few more folks out there. So we'll just hold off for a few minutes, and then we'll get started, okay? All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get going now. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. You see our agenda is up here for what we're going to do, so I'm going to kind of do a welcome and opening prayer here. He gave me 10 minutes for the welcome and opening prayer, which I think is inspiring, because normally they only don't want to give pastors a whole lot of extra time to talk. Because we know we can be long-winded, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Before I do, I just want to say, if you are interested, we have some Lenten devotionals. Our Lenten theme is Ashes to Alleluias. Anybody, if you'd like to take one with you, you're welcome to. I'll have those back in the back. We also have a really, this kind of tells you what we're doing for Lent, and you're welcome to join us. But if you have things you're already doing, that's obviously great. And I know that there are T-shirts for sale, and they're for sale for $15, and they're Wise T-shirts for our group. And so if you're interested in picking one of those up, they're in the back. And I think that I want to thank Eric Goppelrud for providing those, and that was awesome. So that's going to be great. So at this point, I would like to begin with prayer, and then Eric will introduce our guests tonight. Let us pray. As we come together tonight, Creator God, we are thankful for all the many ways that you are expressed through our lives and the communities that we represent. We thank you for the beautiful, amazing home you've given us and how we best can take care of our home. Lord God, as we gather this evening, I'm thankful for all of the work that all of the different leaders in our community do around recycling, of how to take care of our waste and do it in a very helpful, healthy way. So, Lord God, as we come together tonight, we are indeed blessed. We lift up those who are in this building tonight on the other end as part of the Winchester Area Temporary Thermal Shelter, homeless people who have so many different struggles, but we're thankful they have a warm place to sleep this evening, at least this small group of them who are gathered here. So we lift them up, and we also lift up the ministry of Wise and all the different ways that it is continuing to be a source for good in our community. We give you thanks, Creator God, and lift all this up in your name. Amen. And so with that, I'd like to introduce our leader tonight, Mr. Eric Goppelrud, who is the founder of the wonderful group in Fairfax, which is the Faith Alliance for Climate Solution, FACS. And so, Eric, thank you for being with us in Bethel. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, brother.
It, almost as bad as being a preacher and being given time is back in an earlier part of my career, I was a college professor, and I was only able to sort of clear my throat in the first hour to 2 hours. So I'm not going to do that. I'm really, really pleased that you all have come, and the folks that we have out online have been doing it. This is really an important part of caring for creation, which is caring for the junk that we throw away and minimizing the impact that our consumption has on our environment. So I think this really is something, while not everybody likes to talk trash, we've got two folks here who do it every day, all day, and they're passionate about it. And what our hope is that you will also become passionate about moving this to your congregations and your faith communities to minimize the impact that we have on creation. So I'm going to get out of the way and just introduce Andrew Clark and to Michael Neese, our two speakers. I think they'll both tell you, but we want this to be interactive, so as you have questions, please raise them, and then we want to have really a discussion about what we all can do in the latter part after they've finished the presentations. So I don't know who won the coin flip. Okay, Andrew?
Hello. So I'm Andrew Clark. I'm the environmental manager for Frederick County, for the Frederick County landfill. I am not the director, as some of the advertisements came out and said, so just to make sure that's clear. But I do oversee all the environmental department, the environmental projects at the Frederick County landfill. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the landfill. Who has been to the landfill? Has anybody here been to the landfill? A lot of you. Have you actually been in the landfill or just to the convenience center? So it's a big difference, but both are important. The mountain, yes. Yeah, so the Frederick County landfill, it is a regional landfill. We service Frederick County, Winchester City, and Clarke County. Most people don't know much what's past the scale house because there's no reason to go back there because we have the citizens convenience centers here in the county. So those are in place so that residents have a place to go and don't have to actually go into the landfill, get their trucks, their vehicles all muddy. You don't have to drive your car back there. So we have a very nice convenience center. Back when it was originally built, it was one of the nicer ones in the state. So, and it has served its time well. So, but just to tell you a little bit about the landfill, the Frederick County landfill is an enterprise fund, which is different than a lot of landfills. It's run as a business, so basically it pays for itself. We do not require any general fund money from the county, and we do not require any tax money to keep us going. It's all paid for from the tipping fees. So when you throw your trash away, you put it out on the curbside, or you take it to one of our satellite convenience centers, or the convenience center, the Citizens Convenience Center at the landfill. All that then eventually goes over the scales before it goes into landfill. We weigh all that, and then there's a fee. So whether you were taking a large load, if you're a business going over the scales, or whether you are putting it out on the curb, that fee is then being passed to the resident or the business. We do provide these satellite locations so that residents in the county can actually throw the trash away for free at the satellite locations and the convenience center at the landfill. But then eventually those go over the scales and we charge for those. And so that all wraps up and pays for the cost of the landfill, of running the landfill. So the landfill currently has has over 1,000 acres of property. About 197 acres are currently permitted for landfilling, and right now we have about 100 that are actually built out. We have about 30 years of life remaining for our facility, and excuse me. And so, yeah, you can go on to the next slide, Pastor Dave. So here's a picture of our landfill facility. As you can see up in the top left corner, that is the Citizens Convenience Center. Most of you probably have been there. That's generally where citizens will bring their trash there. Then at the top, just at the top of the red circle there, is going to be our scale house, and that's where everybody goes across the scales to go to the landfill. Then we have three different landfills at our site. The red one is our active MSW landfill. That's municipal solid waste landfill. Then we have the yellow that is our closed MSW landfill. That's municipal solid waste. And then we have our active CDD landfill. So this map is a little bit old. This is from 2017. We have done a little bit of modifications there, but in general, that's the way it still looks today.
What is CDC?
Say that again?
What is the CDD?
CDD is construction, demolition, and debris. So yeah, the municipal solid waste is going to be your household trash primarily, and then the CDD is the construction, demolition, and debris. You can go on to the next one. So we take in about 700 tons of trash per day. So that's over a million. I think it's 1.4 million pounds of trash per day. That's on average. About 200,000 tons per year. Go next. And so that breaks down to about 460 tons going to our municipal solid waste landfill. So that, again, that is household trash primarily. And then 240 tons going to our construction, demolition, debris landfill. So that's obviously a lot of trash. It's a lot of waste. So, as we're going to get into a little bit here, we want to do everything we can do to reduce, recycle, and reuse materials. Go next. So at the landfill, we do several things specifically at the landfill to try to reduce the amount that we are actually just dumping into the landfill and burying. One way we do that is any large metal objects, items and things that get dumped on the working face, we actually segregate those and we put them in a bin and we recycle. We try to recycle as many materials as we can, and metal is an easy one that we can pull out. Also, we take tires. You probably, if you've been to the landfill, you may see some tires there. We have an area where we chip those tires up, and then we try to reuse those. So we are somewhat recycling the tires and then reusing them for a purpose. We actually use them for daily cover. So all these landfills have to be covered. You can't just leave trash exposed. So the municipal solid waste landfills require daily cover, and then the CDD requires weekly cover. So we're using this material, these chipped tires, to mix in for daily cover so that we don't have to use so much dirt. So this is a waste product that we can then use again as a cover and not have to take up airspace with dirt and put more dirt in the landfill. Next. Also, the yard waste that you may bring to the Satellite Convenience Center, or they come in, or not Satellite Convenience Center, but the landfill convenience center, or may come in from other sources, goes to our yard waste area, and then that is mulched. Whenever it gets filled up, that area gets filled up, and then we use that to mix in with daily cover as well. So we have tire chips, we have mulch, and then we supplement that with dirt when we need to. So we also take concrete and asphalt. Those are typically, used for fill on site somewhere or crushed up and used for road base. So again, we're trying to reuse things as much as we can and try to find a good purpose for them instead of just burying them in a hole and covering it up. So we also have the satellite or the Citizens Convenience Center at the landfill. So we have all the satellites around the area. Those are smaller and specifically for household trash. We have compactor units there. They also have recycling bins as well. But at the landfill, it gets a little more broad, and we have areas where people can bring larger items. So you could bring your household trash; those can go in the compactors. But you can also bring larger items like couches and mattresses and various things. We have bins for those that then they can go to the landfill if they need to. You can go back one. So we also have a metal bin there, so we can recycle anything that you have that's metal that you can bring in. We also have a brush area and used oil. So we also have the recycling bins. So we have plastic bottles, glass bottles, metal cans, cardboard, paper. Specifically at the convenience center at the landfill, the Citizens site there, we have the glass recycling area. We have restricted that specifically to the landfill site, but that does give the residents a place to recycle glass in the county. As Michael will talk about in a little bit, Winchester City does provide their residents with other locations for that.
How much of that is there now a market for selling or repurposing those things?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that. I'm not directly in charge of recycling. We have another. Michael does Winchester City, but we have another person that actually oversees the recycling program for the Frederick County area.
You don't mix when we put our we put out our garbage or recycling at our park. You don't mix those, right?
So we do not. Are you in Frederick?
Landfill,
Are you in Frederick County?
Winchester.
Winchester City, so Mike can probably answer that better. But as far as maybe once he comes up, you can ask him that, and he'll go through it in detail.
But in the landfill itself,
But
you're not mixing.
as far as the landfill, we do not mix anything like that. We basically strictly bury items in the landfill, and it becomes it goes into the landfill. We don't restrict what's coming in necessarily, so that's going to be up to your specific hauler potentially. But Michael can talk more about the Winchester City specifically. But as far as Frederick County goes, if there is a hauler that is picking up recycling and landfillable material, they should be separating them. They should be taking them to two separate facilities. What comes to us should specifically be landfillable materials that cannot be recycled and that have not been segregated and separated. But as far as what we do specifically, we don't oversee how those materials are sorted before they come into our facility.
And so what you do put in the landfill, you cover that.
Yes.
Cover it with what?
Yeah. So everything that goes in the landfill on a daily basis at our municipal solid waste landfill, we cover that with, like what I said, the chips, the tire chips. We cover it with mulch, and then we cover it with dirt. We also supplement that so that we don't have to use as much. We also have a tarp that covers it on a daily basis. Once we build the whole entire landfill up, I will talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, and talk about how the landfill is actually capped off and closed up. You can go on next.
Andrew, when you say the site is permitted for landfill, what does that mean? What kind of background goes into deciding whether you can
So our landfill is a RCRA Subtitle D landfill that has specific regulations, specific minimum requirements for siting, for construction, for operations, for closure. So that is all very regulated. So siting wise, there are certain restrictions on how far away from certain things you need to be. That we do borings and things to see what the ground underneath looks like, what the rock formations underneath are, and all that is evaluated very closely to verify that this is that is a good.
Who does the permitting?
The permit for us specifically comes through DEQ, Virginia Department of Environmental Quality.
For the state?
For the state, yep. And they are basically, they have their own program, and then a lot of that is, to be in accordance with federal regulations. Yep.
Could you talk to us about the leachate that is going into the sewage
Sure.
treatment plant?
We're getting there in just a minute.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so get back to it. We'll just keep on going as far as reducing, reusing, and recycling. At the landfill, we also have a couple programs to try to keep things out of the landfill, such as the household hazardous waste events that we do once a month, and that is specifically trying to keep, paints, pesticides, herbicides, various things like that, any paint thinner or anything like that. We want to try to keep that out of the landfill if we can. This program is specifically for household hazardous waste, so these are consumer items, not large, industrial quantities. But this helps a lot, and we would try to divert as much as we can out of landfill to again keep our leachate from having these very toxic chemicals in there. Also, we do the e-recycling, the electronics recycling once a month. That program, again, keeps some of these monitors and TVs and things that have a lot of heavy metals in them out of the landfill. Those go to a facility that then removes those items and recycles them and then keeps them out of the landfill. So another big thing is right now is lithium-ion batteries. So we collect lithium-ion batteries at the Citizens Convenience Center at the landfill all the time. You can bring those anytime. And we have this, that program or that we're willing to take them all the time because we want to get as many as we can out of items. So they're in everything. I mean, these days, you can look at this picture here. We have, cell phones have batteries, have lithium-ion batteries, laptops. There's a robot vacuum back there, toys. It's hoverboards have batteries, your drill. But even a lot of things have tiny little lithium-ion batteries in them, very small. You may not even know it's there. But if that item has some sort of memory in it, it most likely has some type of backup battery, and that's probably a lithium-ion battery. The problem with those batteries are when they get crushed, when they get damaged, they produce heat. That's not good in a landfill. We don't like heat. We don't like something that hot in a landfill, so we want to get as many of those out as we can. Also with recycling, when they go into the recycling program, that becomes a big problem too because everything is getting crushed and ground up, and when you have those in there, they really contaminate things and cause problems.
Is there someplace that we can go that there's a list of items that have batteries in them?
I think there may be some resources or some on the Frederick County Recycle website. I believe there's some on there. Michael can probably answer that further and give you a little more information on that.
A good rule of thumb is if it's anything that can be recharged, it has a lithium-ion
If
battery.
it's anything that can be
Recharged, that's just a good rule of thumb.
Yes, sir.
Has the landfill or any of the haulers' trucks experienced fires from these batteries?
They have experienced fires. I can't tell you if they have specifically found them to be from the actual batteries.
But there are fires.
Fires definitely happen from batteries. They produce a lot of heat. And in landfills, when you have a lot of heat and you have a lot of trash, it's a problem. So we're constantly, monitoring for these. We have people that specifically are looking for, items that do not belong in the landfill and try to pull them out. Go on to the next. So at the landfill, we have a lot of programs, environmental programs, and we have a lot of permits, or not a lot of permits, but we have several permits. And the intention of these permits and regulations are to try to keep the landfill as a positive asset for the county. We want to make sure this is a positive thing versus a negative the potential liability for the county. This is it's a very beneficial thing to have a landfill in our county. A lot of municipalities actually have transfer stations and have to ship it all out. And while that may seem nice, you just ship it out, you don't have to worry about it. Costs go way up when you're shipping everything to somebody else's landfill. So this is very nice to have this in our area. So we have several permits. Our main one is our solid waste facility operating permit. Again, it has a lot of the permitting or the requirements as far as siting, operations, or siting design, operations, monitoring, closure, but it also has groundwater monitoring requirements, gas monitoring requirements, different things like that. We also have an air permit, the Title V air permit, stormwater permit, and we have a permit with our POTW that we send our leachate to. Go on to the next.
Do we take in from other counties or other sources?
We do not. We do not take anything that is outside of Frederick County, Winchester City, or Clarke County, which is very good to preserve the life of our landfill. We want to make it last as long as we can. Yes, sir.
What do you pre-treat?
Say that again?
You say you got a pre-treatment permit, what do you pre-treat?
So the leachate that drains out of the trash we pre-treat it on site, and then we send it to a wastewater treatment plant that can then do further treatment and finalize it.
Methane monitoring and capture, what do you do?
We're getting there soon.
Huh?
We're going to be there soon.
Okay.
All right, stick with me. I know I'm taking a little bit, we're dragging it out, but we'll talk through this, and hopefully I'll answer a lot of the questions as we go. So part of these permit requirements, I'm going to go through just a couple things that we do on site. Litter control, that's a big thing. Trash, blowing, wind, it causes a problem. There's always trash bags and paper and things that go flying on a windy day. So we have litter fencing all up around the landfill. It looks like we're trying to keep dinosaurs in or something in Jurassic Park, but that's actually just for trash, for litter that's blowing. It catches a lot and it falls, and then we can clean it up at the base. So we constantly have people almost on a daily basis picking up litter. On to the next. Dust control, that's another big one. Landfills can be a dirty place. We constantly have exposed dirt somewhere and trucks driving through mud, and so we need to keep the dust down. That's one big thing. And so we have a water truck on site that we wet the roads down just to keep the dust in place. Next. So truck wash, again, similar to that. Obviously, trucks are driving through the mud. We want to try to get as much of that off as we can. So we have a recirculating truck wash. It's a wheel wash, basically just to clean off the wheels and the underbelly, to drop all that sediment there. It keeps it in. We have a recirculating, so it stays in there. And then once that fills up, we pump it and send it back to our leachate system. So we're not discharging that anywhere. So all that is being contained. Next, stormwater. It rains. We have a landfill. So our site is designed pretty much from top to bottom to control stormwater flow. Basically, all water that hits the landfill is going through some sort of sediment trapping device. Could be silt fencing, could be check dams, silt traps, sediment basins. These are some sediment basins, and basically the intention of that is to try to hold it, slow the water down, drop the sediment before it flows off-site. Next. So landfill design. So I just wanted to go over a little bit about how landfill is designed, because most people don't have any idea about it. But they are very, highly engineered systems. It's not just burying trash in a hole and covering up with some dirt. That's the way it was done in the past. And so RCRA, the newer regulations, not really newer, but they've been around for a while. RCRA Subtitle D, which is what we have here, requires basically this system. So this is a picture here of that we're starting to build a cell here. So basically a landfill from starting at the bottom, we have base grades, which we excavate to base grades so that so that we have a solid surface at the bottom, something that's not going to settle, something that's not going to, we're not going to have any compaction below that. Then on top of that, we have a bedding layer that is compacted. As you can see, that's what this smooth layer of dirt is. That's our bedding layer. And on top of that, we put a GCL, which is a geosynthetic clay liner. And the purpose of that is it has a bentonite clay layer in it. If by chance there was a leak or any kind of a liquid that hit that, it's going to swell up 15 to 30 times its size. So it's going to plug up any pore space, any space that could potentially go through. Then up on top of that, we have a liner. So I brought a couple of examples here. So we have a 60 mil HDP, high density polyethylene liner at the bottom of the landfill. So this is basically a contractor trash bag is a 3 mil, I think. So this is a 60 mil, so it's much more stiff. If you try to push a nail through that, it's going to be pretty hard. So it's much more stiff. And then all of these are welded together. As you can see, this is a weld. So basically they fuse these, they melt the two plastics together, and then they become one. So you can't separate one without the other, from the other. So all of these are tested. So it goes down in rolls, basically rolls of plastic, and that's what you're seeing there. Then on top of that, we have basically a felt layer, a geomembrane that goes on top of it. And that is going to be basically a thick felt layer, and that's to protect the liner. And then on top of that, we'll have our leachate collection system. So somebody had a question about leachate. We'll start talking about that a little bit. So here's your liner, and then you have your leachate collection system on top of that. This is a series of piping that goes on top. So any liquid that drains out of the trash, just from seepage from whatever was thrown in the trash, potentially will go down here. Any rainwater that hits the surface of the trash that does not sheet off, once it goes through the trash, it becomes leachate and it ends up in these pipes. Around these pipes, we put a layer of gravel so that anything that hits will drain down through that, and then we will collect that. And then on top of that, we'll have an operations layer. It's basically another foot of material that we will actually, a porous material that the trash will actually go on top of. And then when we start putting trash in, we put a layer of fluff, basically a soft material. Anything hard, we segregate out so that we're not putting that close to the liner. We want to put that higher up so that we can avoid any kind of penetration. So basically you're talking about a 3 foot layer of material that is designed below the landfill to make sure we maintain the integrity of the base of the landfill. So that's what this picture is. So then this is completed. So all of those layers are underneath that material there. Those wavy lines there, those are where the leachate collection lines are. And then on top of that, we have this white as a rain cover. And that's basically just to keep the operations layer intact, keep it from having erosion, any kind of erosion, until we actually start using it. So we'll peel back that rain cover and then start putting trash on it. We can go on to the next one. So as far as leachate goes, it gets collected in these pipes. Then it drains down through our system via gravity to a pump station. Then we pump it into our on-site holding ponds and treatment ponds. So what we're doing here is primarily nitrogen reductions. We want to reduce the nitrogen before we send it out to our wastewater treatment plant. So we have a nitrification denitrification process happening here. We're aerating, and then we are also adding nitrous ammonious bacteria, basically nitrifiers, to our ponds here to reduce the nitrogen levels. Go on to the next. So to make sure that we are catching all this and we don't have any penetration, we don't have any leaks, all this, like I said, all this has been tested multiple times, and it's all been had quality control done on it. But to make sure we don't have any leaks, we're monitoring groundwater all around the landfill to make sure that we don't see anything that is unusual. We're checking above upstream of the landfill and downstream of the landfill to see if there's anything. If there is anything, is it coming from the landfill, or is it something naturally in the groundwater and it's already there? So we want to confirm that we are not causing any problems. So we want to make sure that we're checking everything. Next.
Is that automated, like, so you have like a control center or something that reads the monitors remotely, or does something have to go manually?
We do it, it's manual. Yeah. So we hire a contractor to come out and do regular monitoring as it is required in our solid waste permit. So as well as landfill gas, so the landfill is always producing gas. So just like in your compost pile at home or whatever, we're putting trash into a pile, and then that trash is decomposing. It becomes an anaerobic environment, and that trash produces methane. Methane is a flammable gas, and so landfill gas is about 50% methane. Within the landfill, it's about 50% methane, 50% CO2. But as we get it out, it becomes more like 50%, 30% CO2, and then the rest of it's nitrogen, it's basically air. But to confirm that we don't have any migration, because this is a flammable gas, we don't, that's a problem to have migration of a flammable gas in the ground. It could potentially come up into buildings or whatever, or structures, and that's a problem, obviously. So to verify that we don't have any of those issues, we have these monitoring wells, the yellow ones that you just saw. So we're doing regular monitoring to make sure we're containing it all. So we have a voluntary extraction system for our gas. So to talk more about the landfill design, so you have your bottom layer, your bottom liner. Then once you put the trash in, then we're covering it. We're putting a cap on the top. Basically, it's a very similar cap to what's on the bottom. It goes on the top. Basically, we have several layers. Another synthetic liner goes on the top. Then we're putting dirt, basically growing, vegetative cover on the outside. So it becomes a bubble. Well, the trash is producing landfill gas constantly. So we have to get that gas out. Otherwise, it would blow up like a balloon. So we have different options. We could just drill and vent it and let it out, which we technically could do, but we have a voluntary system we've been running for almost 20 years, I believe, that we are actually extracting that gas to use for other purposes. So as you can see go back one. On the left is an extraction well. So on the left side of that is the well that's actually going in and actually collecting the gas, and then we're applying a vacuum. On the right is them drilling the wells, so they're drilling actually into the landfill, very large bucket to make a large borehole. Okay, now you can go to the next. So you have options. What do you do with the methane gas that you've extracted? So we originally just burned it off, and a lot of people just do that, just burn the methane. So by combusting that methane gas, you're actually reducing the greenhouse gas, the potential for holding in heat in the atmosphere by almost 90% by combusting that gas. So you're basically destroying the methane. So that is one option. Go to the next. But for us, I think push it one more time. I think there's a picture that did pop up. No, go back one. I guess my picture didn't come through. So for us, we are actually using it for gas to energy system. So for the past, since about 2010, 2011, we installed a gas to energy system. So we have 2 engines that are actually running off of that methane gas. So we produce about 650 CFM of gas. So that's a good bit of, if you think about how much cubic foot is, that's 650 cubic feet per minute coming out of the landfill that we're collecting. Right.
That's per what?
Say that again?
650 per what? For what unit of time? Or
Per minute.
per minute?
Yeah. Standard cubic feet per minute. Yeah. So, which seems like a lot, but some of these mega landfills, it's so much higher. That we're a very small fish in a big pond as far as landfills go. Yes, sir.
Do you have an estimate of how much you don't capture?
So we aim for about 80 to 90% capture. Obviously, there is some that doesn't get captured, and we're always we try to expand our extraction system every couple years so that we can we want as much gas as we can get. Being that we have a power plant, we want that gas, so we are trying to get everything we can out of it.
For the active landfill, the MSW landfill, that's also producing methane, but we're dumping on it every day. So does the methane just go up in the air?
So obviously some of it does escape. But when you first dump trash, it's not producing methane. Takes a little while. It needs to create an anaerobic environment. So after you get 50 feet of trash down below, you'll start having that anaerobic environment. Then you have the bacteria that then produce methane, and so you will have some buildup. And then at that point, that's when we like to expand our extraction system. We want to build into that area, and we could be building horizontal collectors that actually collect horizontally, or we could drill wells depending on the situation to extract. All right, next slide. So yeah, here's a picture of our power plant. So we have two 20-cylinder Jenbacher engines that run off the methane. So this is a biogas. It's very similar to a natural gas, except for this is not created from a fossil fuel. So basically, fossil fuels, think about it, are carbon that we're extracting from the earth that has been there for millions of years. We're using, this is a renewable biogas that is from carbon that is basically already in the system. So that's from your household trash, from wood products, paper, things like that are going to break down somewhere. Well, we are breaking, they're actually being decomposing actually in the landfill, so that we are actually able to collect that gas that is being produced off of them, that carbon breakdown. Basically, that's the carbon breakdown. So we are collecting that gas as methane and using it as a fuel. So this is a very beneficial project here. Again, this was voluntary. This was not something that was required by the state or anything, but this is a beneficial use that we can then use a byproduct of the landfill for a good purpose. You can go on to the next. So the amount of power that we're able to produce with these two engines can potentially power 1,200 homes in the community. So what we do, we are producing this power, and then we are selling it back to the grid. Basically, it feeds directly back into the grid. So and it becomes just like any other power. It's not differentiated, except this is a renewable energy source because it's not coming from a fossil fuel that is not renewable. So this is a very significant greenhouse gas reduction by doing this. So, do we want to talk to Michael a little bit about how we can recycle and do some things to? Yes, sir.
I have a question about recycling.
Okay.
All right, so I use a convenience center right down the road here next to the King Farm Market.
Okay.
Recycle, I'll fill up my car about every 2 weeks, drop my stuff off there. So one day about 2, 3, 4 years ago, I noticed this guy with a lot of cardboard. I don't know where he got it from, enough to fill up a small pickup truck. He was throwing it into the general trash. And I told him, you can just go right down there, there's the bin for the cardboard recycling. He sort of, I don't know if it's smirk is the right word, but he sort of laughed and said, don't you know all this stuff just gets thrown all together?
I'm not directly in charge of recycling in the county. But I can say that everything that is recycled in the county does go and is sorted and goes to the facilities that is actually recycled. Now, some materials, Michael can probably verify this or just, say that that's not true. Some materials that are mixed in things that get to recycling facilities, sometimes they can't always recycle those materials. If people just throw everything in and it's contaminated, then it can potentially go to a landfill. But as long as it's sorted properly, then it should be recycled. And we don't mandate, or tell people they have to put the recycling materials into the bins. So if they want to put it in the trash, then it's for now it's their right. So. There you go. Does anybody else have any questions specifically for me that you want to ask now?
What's in the leachate?
What's in the leachate? So, if you think about everything that's in your trash, everything that's in his trash, her trash, everybody's trash. That's what's there potentially.
What concerns me is that my understanding is that that's getting pumped into Opacan Creek, and then the next community downstream is having to drink that.
So I can say that we are not pumping it directly into Opacan Creek. We are pumping it to a wastewater treatment plant. That then they have their permit requirements. So the state is overseeing all of this, and so they are satisfying all state requirements as far as how they are, what's in their final discharge, their final effluent.
So you're pumping it where?
We pump it to the wastewater treatment plant over on Route 7.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I understood.
Yep. Yes, sir.
There's been a lot of, I've been hearing anyway, from the session in Richmond now about controversy about biosolids and forever chemicals and microplastics. That's not really that's more wastewater issue, right? And
Yep,
how
that's not directly, the landfill is not directly involved in that. That is certainly a developing topic, and as things develop, we are certainly staying aware of different things that could be coming down the pike.
It's not something that you're involved in.
Yeah, so, but, yeah. Things trickle down, so we are very aware of potential future things that are coming down the pike. Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of the future, you said that you guys have about 1,000 acres and you're only using roughly 200 of them right now. Is the intent that the permitting process would then use an additional, after your 30-year period, the next permit would stay within the same 1,000 acres, or will we then have to find one with the landfill site?
So, yeah, like I said, yeah, there's about 30 years of life left in what we have currently permitted. The big reason that we have so much property is one for buffer. It's nice to have a little space between you and your neighbors when you're a landfill. It's a landfill. We also use it for borrow area because the landfill does use a lot of dirt to cover for the final cover. We need very specified types of dirt. We use some of the areas for stockpile areas, just for temporary storage of, rock or whatever for landfill construction purposes and landfill build purposes. But in the future, we potentially will expand the landfill and hopefully permit it to have another 50 years of life. Or there could be future developments as far as recycling and segregation and things like that. And this landfill, we have 30 years now. Maybe this will end up lasting us 50 years because of But that's wishful thinking, and obviously we want it to last as long as possible because that's the benefit of the county and all the residents that are here to have it last as long as
Is
possible.
there any planning for a successor landfill area at this point?
There's no intention of changing locations like a new landfill location. No, it would most likely stay in the same location and potentially expand what we already have.
Okay, why don't we move on to Michael, and then if there are additional questions for the two of you, both stand up there and answer. Thank you.
Could you also speak a little closer into the microphone?
Yes, but please remind me, because I have a tendency to wander. All right, so what is recycling? That's where I really like to start things off. There's a lot of different definitions, or people use them in common ways, but for a group like this, think of recycling as part of the waste management strategy, right? So waste management at the landfill or your recycling, they're both doing the same thing, sometimes with the same materials, sometimes with different materials. Or for this group, a good way of thinking of recycling, it's the third R in reduce, reuse, recycle. So recycling is kind of like praying after you've sinned. Yeah. It's a good thing to do, but it's better not to sin in the first place, right? So that's where your reduce comes in and your reuse. Now, some absolution for all of us, though, there is no way that we're going to live a zero waste lifestyle. That's a good goal to have, but it's not a true possibility. For a number of reasons, the one I point to as being the most valid and most influential is because of the multi-billion-dollar companies that are selling you trash and greenwashing it and making it your problem when it truly is theirs. But I'll get off of that soapbox. So what can and cannot be recycled locally, you'll notice is going to be very similar in Frederick County as Winchester, but it's done differently. For Frederick County, they have these drop-off locations where you would put your plastic bottles in one place, you put your aluminum cans in another, put your paper in one, your cardboard in one, plastic bags in one. Whereas curbside in Winchester, we have plastic bottles and metal cans mixed together, and then in another container, we have paper and cardboard mixed together. The reason for that is for the type of hauling. Those dumpsters are more bang for the buck for them to be able to haul, whereas in Winchester, we don't have dumpsters. We don't have the capability of emptying dumpsters. What we have are trash trucks, those big compacting vehicles, and they get 8 to 9 miles per gallon. So we want to make as few trips with those as possible. We want to get as much in there, plastic bottles, metal cans mixed together, and then we pay an additional fee for them to be sorted out so they could be recycled. I believe you had asked about commodity pricing earlier for the value of different materials. I think it was the paper and cardboard one. Paper and cardboard still generates more revenue than any of the other materials, but it is still not a true net gain because you still have to pay for the hauling, you still have to pay for the processing, you have to pay for the baling, and you have to pay for the shipping. And by the time you've paid for all of that handling, it's not as much as the rebate that comes back for the material. And that's true across the board with any material, save some electronics. There's some electronics and metals that you would still make a little bit more money off of. The gain from recycling is at its waste management strategy and taking stress off of this system. 30 years ago, I was still in this industry, but the waste composition was very different. And if you look even 30 years before that, the way landfills were managed and the materials that were coming in was vastly different. So I'm hopeful in 30 years when these cells fill up that we will see a different type of material reclamation facility, whether that's pelletization, waste to energy, it could be many things, could be technologies we're not even dreaming of yet. But I'm hopeful that's the way we'll progress. So plastic bottles, why just plastic bottles, right? They've got 1s and 2s on it, right? The film on these boxes of tissues, that's gonna have a number on it as well, right? The plastic of this bracelet, the plastic of these liners, you say was polypropylene? Polyethylene, right? So that's got a number as well. Why aren't they all recycled together? Those numbers are a greenwashing lie. The plastics industry and their lobbying group used the chasing arrows, the recycling symbol, because that's public domain. They used that to make their materials appear to be recyclable, even if they can't be recycled anywhere in the world. Then they put those numbers in there because it identifies the resin strand, and therefore that helps recyclers. It doesn't. That is all advertising on their part. That doesn't help us at the landfill. It doesn't help me curbside. It doesn't help any of you to know what that number means. Ignore that number. That is just a way they trick you. Another way they trick you, who leaves their caps on? Because I saw the Super Bowl commercial where I can leave my plastic caps on. And it's made of the same plastic, right? And Coke put out a whole bunch of commercials on it. It's also not true. There's a handful of facilities where that makes a difference. They use a float system separating out their plastics, and that's primarily in Europe and not even a lot of places over there. But it makes their products look more environmentally friendly. One of the problems with recycling that we face is wish recycling. And we think of recycling as being just a good act. Recycling is doing the best we can with something bad. The best thing to do is not have that bad thing in the first place. A lot of places find when they expand the recycling programs, Winchester included, that people begin to generate more waste because it's okay to create this waste because it's going to be recycled. That's like having more bad decisions because you're going to pray them away on Sunday. That's not how that works. And it just ends up as problems on the entire waste management system. On that note, though, we do have Trex locally. Is everyone familiar with Trex? Plastic bags, right? Anything else? Yeah, there's so many other materials that they take. Now again, we should be avoiding plastics and disposable materials when at all possible. But when you can't, when you've reduced, reused, and you can't, you recycle what's left. And this is a great option that's not available everywhere in the United States or even North America. They were one of the pioneers of this material, and it is good to support them with what we can't avoid. I can pass these flyers around. You can visit their website. There's so many materials. The shorthand for it, again, don't look at the numbers. The shorthand is if it's a plastic that stretches, it can go to them. If it's rigid or crinkly, it can't. And then for Winchester, I mentioned before, plastic bottles, metal cans mixed together, paper and cardboard mixed together. And you were asking, does it all get mixed together? It doesn't. There's 3 different trucks that come by on your collection day. One truck picks up the trash in the black trash can, one collects the bottles and cans, one collects the paper and cardboard, and each of those trucks goes somewhere different. The trash truck will go to the landfill, the bottles and cans go to the material reclamation facility on North Kent Street. They have a sort line on the right-hand side when you're headed out of town. The paper and cardboard stream, we've done really well keeping clean, not having any wish recycling in there, no plastic bags, no styrofoam, no lithium batteries. And as we can maintain that, it doesn't need to get sorted. So it can go straight to the baler on the left-hand side, which is fantastic savings for us. To put it in perspective, per ton, paper going to the left-hand side straight to the baling cost about $40 a ton. If it was to go through the sorting process, it would cost about $105 a ton. So, yeah, dramatically different. So why does recycling differ from the county to the city, to other cities in town, to other places? Well, shoot, even within the county, if you have a private hauler, if you're not using one of the drop-off locations, they may be going to a different material reclamation facility. It may be one that they own in Maryland or Northern Virginia, and they may be doing single stream, right, where all the materials get mixed together. It differs by the hauler, and it differs by the end user where you're going. Not to call out any names, especially since we're being live streamed, there was a material reclamation facility in Northern Virginia that was advertising still taking glass. And in Winchester, I have this flyer as well, we can't put the glass in with the plastic bottles and metal cans. The glass bottles go to the location on Cork Street, so it's got to be a different truck to go to a different location. It can't be mixed in. But this MRF over in Northern Virginia said, oh, yeah, put your glass in with it, and we'll take it all the same. And I was like, great. Hey, who's your vendor that you're recycling all this glass through? Oh, we separate it out and landfill it. Oh, then no, I'm not bringing you the glass. There's pros and cons with different collection methods, and those should be open to public debate because it is a service for all of us, and it is our waste we're managing. But the secrecy in lies, that just doesn't need to be there. That part bothers me. You don't solve a problem if you're not having the facts. But anyway, that's another tangent. So, if we're collecting these plastic bottles mixed with the metal cans, why aren't we collecting the rest of these plastics? We know Trex wants it, right? Well, Trex, when they treat these materials to turn it into their product, it has to be zero contamination, and I mean zero. It cannot have rainwater on it. It cannot have anything else in it because it will start a fire in their plant. It's a very heat-intensive process. So this material can't even touch the plastic bottles, metal cans. It can't be in the back of my trash truck. It has to be kept separate. That's why it has separate drop-off locations. Similar to our glass, which comes to 301 East Cork Street, where we'll crush it with a really cool machine, and it turns it into aggregate, kind of like gravel and sand, and that is free for all of you to experiment with. Come by and pick up a bucket load. Give us a call first, make sure there's somebody to help you out. And I do ask if you use it to please take pictures. We're trying to share as many projects as we can because we want to use this material. A lot of people are dropping off glass, but we're not getting a lot of reuse out of the material afterwards. And last I saw in our waste characterization, we are now accepting more glass for drop-off than we ever collected curbside, which is part of the problem with recycling. And when you think of it as a good thing, you begin to buy more glass bottles. But I would say still to buy more glass bottles than plastic, but that's my personal preference. I think the next bullet point I was supposed to cover is how faith communities and households can reduce waste responsibly. This one's my favorite. Look in your trash can. That's truly where it starts. Do your waste study at home, at your church. You're going to find most likely that food waste is the number one. So then you have composting options, right? But before it even ended up in the trash can, why is there food waste? You know, is it something that's spoiled because we overbought or didn't use or didn't like? Get into all the details so that you can reduce it before you have to end up composting it or doing something else with it. And for a larger establishment like this, there are industrial composters that are about half the size of that pew. They run on electric, they can be indoor or outdoor, and then it takes some of the turning and manual labor out of it. It's something you could put the materials in, have it compost, have the soil come out on the other side. But bear in mind, so that's still producing something. Have an end goal in mind. You don't want to be sitting on 7-8 tons of compost, sitting in the parking lot. Make sure you have a use for that material as well. After your food wastes, probably going to see paper and cardboard being your next biggest one. We all know how to recycle that, but then how can we reduce it? Like I have a whole bunch of papers up here with information, but I only printed one copy, right? So that I can share with the group. Andrew has shared all his electronically up here. Pretty much all of us have email addresses. If you need a hard copy, let us know. We'll be glad to provide it, but that's better than showing up with 300, So is there something we could do within the churches with our song lists or maybe our bulletins or newsletters, something in that fashion to target just how many hard copies we need? The cardboard, where is that coming in from? Probably shipping. That tends to be the big one. Can we combine loads? Is it something we can pick up? But again, recycle what's left. And paper that way is the same for household as well as for the faith-based community. And that should be the bulk of the materials I would imagine here. But if you're going through your trash can and you find something else, let us know. Give one of us a call. We'd love to help you out. We have drop-off facilities for different materials that aren't run by the local governments. They're run by businesses that are reusing that material. I think you all still do the retread program, right? I think that's at Wilkins Shoe Center for shoes. You can recycle the shoes through that program. There's linen and clothing recycling programs. The electronics you mentioned, and those batteries are a terrible problem for our industry. I've visited 2 facilities in Virginia that have caught on fire from lithium batteries. I have seen trash trucks, not mine, thankfully, catch on fire from lithium batteries. Mine caught on fire from household hazardous chemicals that should have never been in there, but that's separate from. You raising your pen? You have?
Yeah, you mentioned clothing and textiles. My understanding is that's one of the main things that go into solid waste land, and they don't break down.
Yeah, it's a huge
lot of
waste.
it ends up getting shipped overseas where it gets dumped again.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a big issue for
Yes, fast fashion.
and the landfill is garments, textiles, clothing?
We have a lot of secondary markets for them here. We have quite a few thrift shops. We have Blue Ridge Hospice and some of those, and they help take the volume down, but there is still a tremendous amount of clothing in our area. Fast fashion has become very popular, and it's made it cheap, and so we buy more of it. We also don't have the durable goods that we used to. A lot of the clothing, no, not this one, but a lot of the clothing, if you check it, you'll see that you're wearing plastic. It's not even made primarily of plant-based materials anymore. Yes, ma'am.
When I walk around my neighborhood on recycling day, I notice that there are many recycling bins that have things that are not recyclable in them.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of the stream of recycling are you having to remove that isn't recyclable, and how much does that cost?
It costs $105 a ton for all of that material, and then an additional $42 for disposal. So roughly 42 for disposal. So roughly $150 a ton for all of that extra material. And it's in the single digits percentage-wise, and we try and keep it as low as possible. Have you ever seen the little stickers on people's recycling bins that'll say, sorry, we didn't take it, and it'll have a reason on there. You know, you had plastic bags or glass bottles or something we couldn't put in the truck. And so we'll put a sticker on it and leave it. We still end up with a lot of clamshells and additional plastics. So far, we've stuck to about the single digits in contamination. If we exceed that, we have a pretty good relationship with the material reclamation facility we go to, and they could reject the materials, or they can give us a call and say, you've got to cut down if it's gotten too bad. Years ago, one of the ones that took us a long while to get out, for sharps disposal, needles disposal, for diabetes, other materials, you can put them in a rigid bottle, like a Tide bottle or a bleach bottle. And there were several people that were then putting that in the recycling because it was a plastic bottle. And so we were having all of these needles to deal with. It was awful, awful. But we finally found the source of that and were able to cut those out.
Do you find putting those oops stickers gets pushback from the residents?
Oh, yeah. Angry people call me every day. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, especially when it's, well, but it's a plastic bag. It could go to trucks. You're right. Mm-hmm. I work also with the Virginia Recycling Association. I'm serving the very end of my term with it. And when we started putting the stickers out, the response from that group was fantastic because they knew it was not going to be well received. There's a lot of places in Virginia that won't do it because they don't want to have that negative communication. But I would rather be open and honest with people. If you put that plastic bag or that clamshell in the recycling bin and we pick it up, then you're assuming we're recycling it, but it's going to the trash. And I feel like we're just lying to you at that point. Yes, sir.
So, I'm still not sure about the
Mhm.
Do those get separated and recycled?
Yes, yeah, plastic bottles and metal cans can be mixed together for when we pick them up, and then we pay at the material reclamation facility for them to be separated back out.
Okay. And that's where you pay the $104?
Yes.
So you don't make money on this?
No.
Okay.
No. The way we make money off of it is by taking less trash to be processed at the landfill and to keep that landfill alive longer. Because if that landfill were to fill up in 30 years or sooner and just completely close, then Winchester is going to have to haul that material to the next nearest landfill. And right now, we're making about 2 trips a day with our trash trucks, which isn't bad when it's 10 minutes away. When it's an hour away at 8 miles per gallon, that becomes expensive quickly.
So does the county capture aluminum or something like that as separate from other materials?
Only when it's put in separate. If it's put in mixed together, then it's mixed together.
So, I mean, if I just don't remember going to the Citizens Center, but if I went there's a container where I can throw aluminum.
Yep, yeah, there's a place both for the aluminum cans and for scrap metal. So scrap aluminum metal as well. But it's 2 different bins. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Mike,
Is it?
okay, so the 3R campaign or slogan, reduce, renew, or no, reduce,
Reuse, recycle. Yeah.
has been around for 20 or 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all wise people here. We know we should be doing all this stuff. Is there any reliable information, either statewide or nationwide, showing that Americans have indeed responded well and reduced it per capita? I know the population is per capita. Is the production of trash gone down or stayed the same?
Increased. Yeah.
It's increased.
Yeah. We are the biggest solid waste generator per capita in the world.
So the campaign hasn't worked essentially. Maybe it's reduced on the margins.
Well, we still count the recycling as part of the solid waste because it's still part of the waste stream. So our landfilling may have decreased, but our waste generation has increased. We're still making more material and wasting more material.
We're not reducing the amount of waste.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, think of 40 years ago? For glass bottles, we didn't recycle glass bottles. You took them back and they were washed and refilled. Many nations in the world still do that. So in Winchester, we're picking up at least 20 tons of glass in a week. That could have been 0 if we were reusing it. And that's my little 9 square mile, 10,000 households. Compare that to the nation of Germany. Yes, sir.
Some cities in the state, I know Fredericksburg is one, have mandated a moratorium or something on single-use plastic bags.
Yes. Yeah.
Are there other places that have tried that? And what's been the result?
There's been 2 that I'm familiar with. One of them is facing a lawsuit over it, and everybody else has just kind of been seeing how that goes to see if they're going to enact it or not. It was just a few years ago the state empowered the state wouldn't take any action on its own, but it empowered the local communities that if they wanted to put a ban or a tax on it, they could. I want to say it's Fairfax, but it might be Arlington.
Montgomery County, yes,
I mean, the District of Columbia's put a fee, or
they charge you 5 cents for a bag or something.
yeah, and that's what Fredericksburg, I think, has done also.
Mhm. And they've also put into place statewide for the polystyrene containers that you get at the restaurants. There's bans on those now as well, but that one's statewide. There's supposed to be an individual in each community that's responsible for overseeing the program, but as that kind of was an unfunded mandate, I don't know a lot of communities that are following that.
So for both of you guys,
Not that I'm aware of. No. That would be a tough sell in our area, especially with Trex. Mhm.
But it's my understanding, however, that individual stores can, if you bring your own bag, we're talking bags at the grocery store, they will deduct like a nickel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sharp Shopper on Berryville Avenue does that.
Bring your own bags, in other words, so
Mhm.
to try to reduce the plastic bags.
Yep. Yeah, and their locations are across the United States, but mostly in the north. And some of theirs have already fallen into these plastic bag bans and taxes. So they're trying to make the corporate decision to be the same everywhere. I hope it catches on with the other stores as well.
Could you repeat that, please? I didn't catch the question.
Sharp Shopper, Berryville Avenue. If you use a reusable bag, they take like a 5 cents per bag off of your. Mhm.
So does Target. So does Target.
Target? Oh, great. Yes, ma'am.
I'm confused because you said for the plastic bottles, ignore the number.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that I'm originally from Loudon.
Mm-hmm.
They say 1, 2, and 5, they'll recycle.
Mm-hmm.
Where Republic is collecting our recycling, and they have said 1, 2, and 5.
Mm-hmm.
Are you telling me that I should not be paying attention to those numbers?
You should there, because you should always listen to your hauler, and that hauler has its own material reclamation facility. They have a Republic MRF that they go to, and that's the material they want, so that's what you want to be giving them. But here, no, it's narrow neck plastic bottles. So
All plastic bottles?
plastic bottles, yep.
So to kind of keep us on time,
Mm-hmm.
let's kind of bring this part of the discussion to an end, and I'll bet that these guys will stick around a little bit afterwards for any individual. But one of the things that I hope that we can come out of these discussions, our monthly discussions, is to have work groups that will, work with these guys, work with the county supervisors, with the commissioners, to move us from throwing everything in the trash to, reduce, recycle, and then as much as we can reuse. So anyway, thank you. Thanks to both of you guys, and I'll turn this over now to John.
I want to just briefly touch on something, but we. Okay.
Just so the people online can hear better.
Sure. I wanted to briefly touch on the idea that we are now starting interest groups, and you saw the sign up. Before you leave, if you would sign up if any of those match an interest, because we'll work quasi-independently to be able to expand our efforts using those groups. And I'd like to go into more detail with it, but we've got an emergency tonight, so we have to wrap up now. And so I thank you for coming, and I'm going to close by just reminding you we've got 2 upcoming events definitely scheduled, if I'm not mistaken, and we're going to have some other ones coming. Next month, we're going to have Neil Myers is going to be helping us sponsor a workshop that's going to be at Braddock Street Methodist Church on Saturday, the 14th of March. And that's going to be focusing on inviting pollinators. And it gets us into the wonderful topic, not only of pollinators, but of the native plants that support them and the intentional kind of activities we can undertake. And one of our interest groups is, in fact, on native plants. So I just want to highlight that. And then we're excited because we're in the planning phase. We still don't have a definite date yet, but we are hoping to have a meeting in April with the George Mason Climate Science Center coming out to talk about what is the state of climate change in Virginia? What are the facts? Obviously climate change has been politicized, but there's a lot of information, and these guys and gals will help us really dig into it and understand it more. So we're excited about those as upcoming events. We also are in the planning phase of an Earth Day event. So keep tuned in, and we'll send you a periodic update, and we'll keep you posted. But there's a lot going on. Again, there's a lot more I'd like to say, but I think we need to wrap it up. So thank you for hosting here, And we'll look forward to following up and seeing you next month at Braddock Street Methodist Church. And thank you, gentlemen, again. We really appreciate your sharing your wisdom and your passion.